I always seem to have to take a drink just before we're going on. Are we live? All right, we are live. Good morning. It is Wednesday, June 6th. I can't believe it's June already. And you are here on Java with Jerry live from the penthouse suite of Stadium Center right here in the Platinum Triangle in Anaheim. Big show today, and a good one because I've got my friend Bryan Starr on. I'll tell you about him in a little bit. You know how to find these shows if you're watching it live on Facebook. If you're not, you can always get the past shows, including this one, at orangesliced.com. Go there. You can pick up all the past videos. You can watch this show again because it'll be very fascinating. You'll want to see it more than once. And you can also sign up for the audio, which becomes a podcast there. So go check in Orange Sliced. What's on the show today? Little bit of news commentary, a lot of discussion of what happened last night. It was election night in all over the country, but certainly in California and Orange County. We'll talk a little bit about those races. And then I'm going to bring Bryan Starr in, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Irvine Chamber. And Bryan has a rich, I can't speak, I speak for a living, a rich, deep history in public policy and public affairs and politics, and now in economic development in his role as the chair of the chamber, the leader of the chamber, I should say, not the chair of the board. So we'll do an interview with him, and then our feature today will be how to speak millennial for all you boomers that need to know how to speak millennial. So let's get to it because there's a lot to talk about. National news stories, I'm just going to do a couple of stories and do them quickly. Just an update on the volcano that we've been following, still erupting in the Big Island, and now wiped out 100 homes overnight on Tuesday. Just a sad thing to see. It's an astonishing story of devastation on the Big Island, and we'll keep you in the loop on that one, but you have to really go and pay attention to what's going on there and give you an astonishing story of great devastation. The last actual story I read on it, I kept, and it said that hundreds of homes, mostly in rural Hawaii, were destroyed overnight in Kapoho Beach and in vacation land overnight, including the home of Mayor Harry Kim, who's got a second home, a vacation home in that area of Kapoho Beach, and lots are being threatened. They've evacuated thousands of people now from the island, and thousands in the Puna area had to evacuate, and Leilani Estates is now being evacuated because they're worried about people being trapped by the lava and not being able to escape. So terrible devastation there. Another national story of note, a sad one, is that Kate Spade passed away from an apparent suicide in her New York apartment. She was found by people who work for her, who came on her housekeeping staff and found her about 10:20 in the morning. Apparently there was a suicide note. I thought this is a very sad thing. This woman who had started this line of handbags in 1990 from an idea and decided she would start a company based on 6 shapes of handbags that she thought every woman needed, and it created a smash company. It sold recently from Liz Claiborne, I think, to what was Coach and is now Tapestry for $2.4 billion. That's the empire she created. And I thought Britt Hume had the most telling commentary on it last night. He said, everyone you know is suffering from something you don't know, so be kind to people, and there's great truth to that. All right, let's move to a local news story and away from all that sadness and devastation. And this one I just picked up because it's funny, and then we'll talk a lot about the elections, and I can get my friend Bryan in here because I won't have enough time to ask him all the questions I have for him. All right. In Norwalk, a busy street was closed to traffic because of heavy flooding. Now, you would think a water main broke. That's what the city officials thought. No, thieves had dug out a portion of Firestone Boulevard to get to a brass backflow valve. They stole it for the brass. That's a lot of work, guys, for the brass, but they ended up flooding all of Firestone Boulevard. That should have been you can't make this stuff up story, but that's not our feature for today. Let's talk about the election. I'm going to stick mostly to California and OC, although stuff was happening nationally too. I think everybody knows that in the governor's race, we ended up with Gavin Newsom, no surprise, and John Cox, who was a surprise. They actually got a Republican in there. That's good for Republicans down ticket in November to have a standard bearer at the top of the ticket. So it will be Cox and Newsom. In our congressional races, some of the folks that are going to be doing runoffs in the 39th, which was Ed Royce's old seat, Young Kim, who was an assemblywoman in that area and a former staffer for Ed Royce, came in first. She'll run off against millionaire Gil Cisneros, who is a lottery winner and is running now as a Democrat. Mimi Walters will be in a runoff against Katie Porter. She was a big vote getter, over 53%, and Katie Porter came in second with 20. Lou Correa easily, handily won first place in his district, will run against Lambert. Stewart, Alan Lowenthal against Briscoe, Alan with big numbers there. Dana Rohrabacher in a race that was heavily watched and heavily covered in the news, took first place. Harley Ruda will be his runoff opponent in November, a Democrat, a former Republican, I think. Diane Harkey easily took first place and will run off against Mike Levin in a district that's heavily Republican, so Diane will probably do well there. In a race that was watched across the nation and not just in Orange County, Josh Newman was being recalled because of his vote on SB 1, the gas tax, and in fact, he was recalled by 60-40, so a 20-point margin in there. And Ling Ling Chang, who was an assemblywoman for a while in that area, is now a senator. She won that race, and so Ling Ling is in. And Rita Topalian won the 32nd Senate District and was a clear winner there. Janet Nguyen, a clear winner over Tom Umberg. Pat Bates easily returned. Philip Chen, a big winner in his race. Sharon Quirk Silva and Alexandria Coronado, really close race, less than a percentage point between them. Stephen Choi cruised to a win. He will face Michelle Duman. Tom Daly was unopposed, clearly won his race. Lowenthal won over Tyler Deep, but that's a runoff because nobody was over the full amount. Bill Breaux, down south against Reinhardt will be in a runoff. Harper will face Norris, and then Judge Ted Howard returned to his seat. All the props did what you expect the props to do, so I won't spend much time on them. I will say that Irvine did something I expected. I should talk about some of these supervisorial races. Michelle Steele easily, handily won. Don Barnes won sheriff, in case those of you who were watching that race didn't catch it. Lisa Bartlett easily returned unopposed. Claude Parrish won his. Eric Woolery, as the auditor, won his. Auditor Controller. Hugh Nguyen returned as clerk recorder. In the district attorney's race, obviously, November will be Rackauckus versus Spitzer. Rackauckus was in first place by 4 percentage points. Sharon Friedenrich was unopposed and easily won. Now, all the props did what you thought they would do. The supermajority on cap and trade use was rejected, but everything else passed. And in one in Irvine that I thought was important and passed was that they require 2/3 vote of the city council to propose new taxes. That's a good thing, a change to the way they govern there that matches up with what the rest of the state is doing, something that was started in Anaheim by Chris Murray, now carried into Irvine. And then in a surprising vote, at least surprising to me, Measure B, which was going to facilitate a veterans cemetery in the old strawberry fields, was rejected by the voters in Irvine. I don't get it, Irvine. You have a rich history in military history like Tustin does, and I don't know why we can't find a final resting place for our veterans. So anyway, lots happened in the California election, and it's certainly in Orange County, and we'll be covering and talking about more of that throughout the year as we get to November. All right, that's enough for news stories. I'm not going to do a sports story. I want to bring Bryan in. We have a lot to talk about, so let me bring him on camera. Bryan Starr, I will bring you on now, and then I will tell everybody from your bio who you are, because they don't know you. How are you, my friend?
Jerry.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Make yourself comfy. All right. Bryan Starr, as I told you, is president and CEO of the Greater Irvine Chamber. That's its new name. He oversees all aspects of economic development, workforce development, and international trade and business attraction and retention, which we're going to talk a lot about, and does, in addition to that, some tourism Destination Irvine work, and we'll talk about Destination Irvine. Before he was the CEO of Greater Irvine Chamber, many of you knew his prior gigs. He was at Orange County Business Council, OCBC as we call it, overseeing external affairs. He was a lead advocate for the business community in that role. Before that, he was CEO for the Building Industry Association of Southern California, and there he directed the largest BIA chapter in California and was very, very engaged in advocacy related to commercial and residential development and construction industry workforce development. He began his work in association management with the Associated Builders and Contractors of Southern California as Director of Government Affairs in the early 2000s. Before that, Bryan served on the staff of the Ways and Means Committee for the U.S. House of Representatives. He was interspersed in there along all his other public work, very active in a lot of races, including gubernatorial and Senate races where he ran those races and was very, very active in politics. He was Director of Public Affairs from Newport Beach helped his clients with municipal finance contracts, development and redevelopment projects, and lent out his skills to a lot of political campaigns in that role there. He has served on the Orange County Council of Governments, the Waste and Recycling Committee, on the City of Irvine's Green Ribbon Commission, is, I think, currently serving on the Irvine Community Land Trust Board, and has been a member of the Dean's Advisory Board for UCI School of Social Sciences. He is widely credited with opinions on political strategy and advocacy and association management, and published publications of the Orange County Register, OC Metro, Long Beach Press Telegram, the California Real Estate Journal, the Orange County Business Journal, and many others. He has a BA in political science with honors from San Diego State University, and he served in the Coast Guard. So I'm exhausted just telling the story of your life, man. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about the Irvine Chamber. I just dumped all my cards, so they're completely out of order. But let's talk, this is what's organic about this show. I do something wrong every week. Let's talk a little bit about the Irvine Chamber of Commerce and their mission, Bryan, in life, while I reorder these cards and tell those who don't know the Greater Irvine Chamber what it's up to and what you do.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'm
delighted.
Jerry, you and I go back about 15 years.
We go back a ways, yeah.
It's fun to do this stuff.
Don't tell any stories that you know about me that I don't want on air.
That goes both ways, right?
Okay.
So the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce, we are obviously a member-based organization that has about 850 member companies, give or take, in a given month. And we represent really a pretty broad cross-section of the business community. Unique to our chamber is the fact that we have such a robust economy that is incredibly diverse in its industry clusters, in from small businesses, sole proprietorships, all the way up to large global headquarters of massive corporations, and in between there, lots of mid-cap businesses. So it affords us the
It's
ability,
really broad. I mean, it's
very
broader than most people have in their chambers, because usually chambers are small businesses, right?
Sure. So, and in that, we also have a unique opportunity to house our Convention Visitors Bureau, which is Destination Irvine, a destination marketing operation under the same building. So it is very diverse. We have the typical chamber function that you would expect, the business mixers and the leads groups and those things, which are very effective for B2B type companies. But we also have a really robust economic development aspect because of the large corporations, global headquarters, international companies that we represent. So it's really a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. We've got a very large staff. We have about 17 on staff, which again is very
17
unique.
people on staff.
Yeah, so very unique for a chamber of commerce. Makes us one of the largest chambers of commerce in California. So it's a fun operation.
All right, well, while you were describing what you do, I got all my cards back in order again,
Awesome.
so at least we know where the heck we're going in the show. Let's talk a little bit about Destination Irvine. That's been something that has been sort of a public-private partnership in Irvine, and it has had a major impact. And it sort of began because I think the hoteliers decided that when the business week was over, they were empty. Right. But it's turned into much more than that. So talk a little bit about its genesis and where it is.
So our 21 hotels in Irvine are primarily for business travel. That's largely what we attract. Yeah. So Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday, those hotels are full. On the weekends, you're right. So the rates lower a little bit. We get a little bit of spillover from tourism in Anaheim and Newport Beach. But one thing that's unique to Irvine is these world-class sports facilities that Five Point has put on the Great Park. Yep. It's really given us an opportunity to put on staff a sports marketing individual.
Oh, is that right?
And so what he does is tries to bring in large youth sports tournaments. We have a professional soccer team on the Great Park, which is a draw. So we have.
You're about to have the Ducks, I think. And you're coming at big sheets of ice on the Great Park.
We're U.S. water polo, world-class baseball facilities and softball facilities, soccer fields, of course, lacrosse. So these large youth sports tournaments that come into our city are now filling our hotels on the weekends.
Yeah, that's great.
So we're really focused on that area. Destination Irvine, you're right, is a public-private partnership, but really funded by the hoteliers in order to do the kind of things that we're talking about with the sports marketing, and then also market large conventions to the extent we have the size to do that, bring in business travel to fill those the meeting space.
During the week, though, during that Monday through Friday when Irvine explodes, it's a couple of 100,000 people at night when you all go night-night, but during the day it's more than 500,000 people, I think, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of trade going on and a lot of international trade, and you are steeped in the middle of that. A year into your tenure, you've been all over the world now. So talk a little bit about that, what you've done recently to go to Europe and the like.
I appreciate that. We were honored in the last 2 weeks. We've been sitting on an embargo for months, and it's been driving me nuts. But we
you mean someone actually got you to shut up about something?
Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
It
doesn't shut up ever.
We were honored with the Presidential E Award from Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce.
Big deal.
Congresswoman Mimi Walters, who's our representative, was also there to help us honor that award. So this is an award that in 1961 was commissioned by executive order by John F. Kennedy to honor and help support organizations and companies that are in excellence in exports. So chambers of commerce rarely get these. In fact, the last time that a chamber of commerce did was in 2012, and it was the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. We got it this year, and it's an unbelievable honor, and we just couldn't believe it. So we are very active in the trade space. We're very active in the export space. We do annually, and now we'll be doing it 2 times a year, a trip to the UK. We're laser focused on the United Kingdom in trying to bring foreign direct investment into Irvine, in particular in the life science vertical. So pharmaceuticals, medical device, med tech, and some may not know that Orange County is the medical device capital of the world, and Irvine in particular, we've got 500 medical device companies or life science companies anchored by Allergan and Edwards Life Sciences.
Let's talk a little bit about this, because there was recent commentary on the airwaves about the fact that we don't have business headquarters and that we don't have a business community. And Bryan, I know people will know I'm biased. Yes, I was chair of the board of the Irvine Chamber, and I've been an active member, and our firm still is. But it doesn't have to do with bias. We have a business community, and it's anchored largely in Irvine. Talk about it.
I know what you're referring to, and it is a bit absurd. There was a study that came out from a university that's just outside our window here that was talking about the fact that we have no ecosystem for business. There's no business community. And there's no headquarters. I mean, the reality is, look, we've got, in Irvine alone, I've got Edwards Life Sciences with 13,000 employees. I've got Ingram Micro that has 33,000 employees. The global headquarters, all of these global headquarters. Mazda North America with 20,000 employees. Taco Bell with 166,000 employees. I've got more global headquarters. In fact, a third of all Fortune 500 companies have a presence in Irvine. Yeah. So to say that we don't have, I mean, our economy is really fueling Southern California.
It is. I always tell people it's the job center for the nation, because if the nation drives international business, and it does, it's the largest economy in the world, obviously, it's driven by its largest state, California, that has a huge economy. 24 million of the 39 million Californians live in Southern California, and the job center is in Orange County, and I'd say anchored in Irvine. There's a lot of headquarters in Irvine, and tons of entrepreneurism. The finance and real estate center of the world is there. The mortgage center of the world is really there. Pacific Trade is anchored there. Innovation is there. I didn't realize you had 500 biotech companies that are
life science companies, and 900 tech companies.
Unbelievable.
And also because of the 3 major automotive companies, so Hyundai, Kia, and Mazda, there's been an organic growth of auto technology that is kind of centered around in the Irvine Spectrum area, which we consider downtown Irvine.
And Ford has its design center there, and I know there are a lot of design companies that are there, and also ancillary companies to that. Let's talk a little bit about your bid to attract Amazon and what that did for Irvine and what it is doing, really, in the way that it was brilliant, whether you get Amazon or not, and I want you to talk about the brilliance of it.
Sure. So, when this came out, when Jeff Bezos made this claim, and then Donald Bren responded, we all sat up in our chair, right? Because when the chairman says something like that and wants to attract a company, we get really excited. We saw this as an opportunity, as I think he did, and the company did, not necessarily to land the Amazon HQ2 in Irvine, which, that would have been
awesome.
That would have been the prize. But really more of an opportunity to market the aspects of Irvine, why companies should consider coming to Irvine, why companies in San Francisco, Seattle, and the Silicon Valley should consider expanding their footprint in Irvine. Because when these companies look to grow, they can't do it in San Francisco. There's no elbow room. Life science companies can't grow in San Diego. There's no elbow room. come to Southern California, and here's why. Because we've got a research university that graduates 30,000 STEM students. The number of STEM qualified engineers in Southern California alone tops anywhere in the world. We've got an unbelievable mix of housing that is, from folks that that are in service industry all the way up to CEO housing.
Right.
We've got the most beautiful open space in Southern California, with a third of our city master planned to be permanent open space.
Well, and think of Orange County, and when we talk about open space, we're not talking about just a few thousand acres. 57,000 acres in perpetuity that's open for recreation and for wildlife.
I'm glad you knew that. That's good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
did
know
your
the stats.
research.
Yeah. So that's the truth. If people have not seen, is there a place where they can see the piece that you guys put together, Bryan? I commend you to see it. Tell us where they can go and find it, and we'll throw it up on the screen.
IrvineChamber.com. We've got there's actually a link to a page that's focused on the master plan. And if for those that don't know, Irvine's been master planned for 60 years to be an economic powerhouse, and we've grown up and we're here, right? So now is the time that we've all been waiting for with the master plan.
So there's a link on the page.
There is. And just real quick, the master plan there's a misconception that this is some kind of a rolled up document in a vault under City Hall. The reality is that it's a living plan. I mean, really, we look at it like spokes on a wheel, and every one of those spokes is contributing to the economic success and prosperity of the community. Yeah.
Well, I know we've talked a little bit about international trade. Let's talk, and a little bit about the Great Park development. Let's talk about what's coming as you sit and look at the landscape now. Erica just showed me where we are in time, and I'm running out, Bryan. But I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk about the next step, because we've talked a lot about what you've already done and what you are doing. Where are we going? Where is Greater Irvine Chamber going? What are the things on the horizon that you have to tackle?
So I touched on it for a second, and we've been in the foreign direct investment and international trade lane pretty successfully. We want to get back to basics. We want to really focus on attracting businesses that are either in the Western United States or in California that are looking to expand, specifically in the high-paying sectors like tech and life science. And so we'll be focusing with both our volunteers, but financially we'll be focused on this in the next year, telling not to compete with San Francisco or Silicon Valley, but to say, look, if you're going to expand, this is the place where you have opportunity to do it. Our cost of living is lower, believe it or not. We have more in the way of talent, and so.
And we're for those employees and their lifestyle, I think. I mean, one of the things I think that makes Irvine attractive, beyond the fact that of its natural beauty and all the rest that you guys have done in terms of planning, and the open space. I mean, we talk about the fact that there's open space, but you can literally take a hike from the Cleveland National Forest to the beach, and it goes all the way through Irvine. I mean, it's an amazing ecosystem that you have for folks. But you've got world-class education. Your K-12 is renowned.
You bet.
And so are the universities. I mean, it's a place where you can relocate your family, and it's got a quality of life that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
No question.
Yeah, that's a great story to tell.
Perfectly.
It's a great story to tell. I really do think it's an interesting time to be there, and an interesting time, I think, for you, because you come from such a diverse background, both in the public and private sector. I mean, from the halls of Congress to now the Irvine Chamber, talking to people internationally, and you have contingents coming out from nations all the time. Talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, I mean, we get about, I'd say, 7 to 10 international delegations that are coming here, primarily from Asia, but we do occasionally get them from Europe, and coming out to look at what we have to offer, look at investment opportunities, talk about trade. We just had a delegation from China in yesterday, and also we had 2 days ago, and then we yesterday had the Small Business Administration come out, where we had consul generals from Los Angeles, from other countries that are based in Los Angeles, come down to our shop to hear what's going on in Irvine. So very active, Jerry. I really, really enjoy the diversity of the organization itself. And I think we're making an impact. Yeah, 17 people. I mean, wow, that's a huge step. It's big staff.
It's gigantic. I mean,
they keep me busy.
I think you keep them busy as well. We're going to have Bryan back. We're going to talk a lot more about what's going on in Irvine and economic development in the future. I want to talk a little bit next time you're here about the kinds of things that you're doing when you're overseas, and the kinds of things those companies are asking for, and how you're connecting them to our businesses here. I didn't realize we had 900 tech companies. That's 900 tech companies. That's an incredible amount of people that are here doing stuff that's innovative. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those companies, so you can tell us about some of those successes, because the human stories are always interesting, right?
Absolutely.
So never enough time to talk to my friend Bryan. Where are we, Erica, on time? Am I down to feature time? Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about our feature. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on next week, which is going to be an interesting juxtaposition interview to this one, and then we'll have Bryan back to speak to us again in the future. All right, so our feature today is How to Speak Millennial. This is for you boomers. This feature is all about helping you understand the lexicon of the millennial, knowing what their words and phrases mean, and how to use them intelligently. So the Cracker Jack staff today has found a phrase, on fleek. So this is usually used in an adjectival phrase, so it's meant to be descriptive. It means flawlessly styled and groomed. Examples start, well, actually its derivation started, I think, from a Vine where a woman was talking about her flawlessly groomed eyebrows that she said were on fleek, and it just caught fire from there. So you can use it in a sentence by saying her eyebrows stay on fleek, which is the way she used it. Or about a woman, she is flawlessly dressed. Her outfit is totally on fleek. So that's how you use it. So if you look at Bryan today, the sartorial splendor of the CEO is completely on fleek. That's how you use it. Get out there and talk to your millennials intelligently, you boomers. Remember that we're always looking for your dumb criminal stories. We did a dumb criminal story last week. My friend Pam sent some in from London. We're combing through them, Pam. We're going to see if there's a good one there. If there is, you win a Java with Jerry mug. And so get your stories into us. Remember, you can always find these episodes at orangeslice.com. Go there, pick up all the past episodes, including this one. Next week's guest will be Jay Barres. He is the CEO of Visit Anaheim. We'll talk about the largest convention center in the Western United States, which brings a bunch of people in that stay not only in the hotels here in Anaheim, but also in the hotels in Irvine. So we'll talk a little bit about Jay Barres, and you can see how the business that he does ties in with this international trade that Bryan has been talking about. Remember, this is a dialogue, not a monologue, so write to us. Tweet us, send something on Facebook. We'll get back to you. We're delighted that you came and joined us this Wednesday. Thank you to Bryan Starr for being here. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks,
you get to take that mug with you. That's your
awesome
commemorative Java with Jerry mug, and you can take it and use it at the Irvine Chamber. You can get a mug like that if you get interviewed here or if you send in a story. And until then, we will see you next Wednesday. In the meantime, have a great week. Make good decisions, and we'll see you next Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. right here on Java with Jerry. And don't forget to go to irvinechamber.com.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for being on.
Cheers.
All right. We'll do this shot out there.